It's day 50 of my attempts to improve my communication skill. 50 days, half of 100 days. That's a pretty long time. I'm trying to balance, to find the right place between being energetic, being emotional, and just being chill, because being relaxed, because I I'm not normally an emotional or an excited or energetic speaker. So it's kind of hard for me to summon energy for each of my speech, and I don't even think that it's sustainable for normal conversations in my daily life. So I'm gonna try to experiment through different kinds of talk, tempo, intonation to find the right fit for my style of speaking, the style of speaking that I preferred. So the thing is that if I talk really energetic, really like this, of course it's gonna sound exciting, right? It's still, yeah, that still feels kind of awkward. How about I'm just gonna sound normal like this, but I'm gonna I'm just gonna talk in a normal tone like this, but I'm gonna emphasize on something, and maybe I talk smaller on other kind of thing, other kind of content, and I'm just gonna empathize again and wait for a few moments to let the speech in. I don't know, that still sounds really awkward. Still gotta spend my energy into the speech. Yeah. Of course, it works that way, because who would even want to hear a speaker that don't invest as that much energy and just aren't convinced about his talk? Wouldn't that be boring as hell? Another way of speaking is that I'm gonna talk in a pretty light voice like this. I'm gonna talk in lies and trying to be emotional and try to fit in, trying to be a funny guy, but nah, that's not my voice. I'm just gonna keep my normal tone, though I'm gonna fluctuate my voice a little bit more and give more infrequent and variable into my speech, so that I could introduce more surprising elements to let my talk less boring. That still doesn't really sound right. Yeah, after I done all those book crap, then obviously I gotta invest my energy into my talk for that to be a persuasive and interesting, or maybe a hearable thought, an interesting talk. Assuming that I don't have a too groundbreaking content that the audience would always want to listen, regardless of how boring my talk is. Maybe like some of those bad teachers or professors. So usually my old style of speaking is like this. I just talk in a pretty monotone style, and I understand why I get a 6 point of I speaking points in IELTS. It sounds boring when I watch back on my video. In comparison, then maybe this I'm still using my normal voice, but I'm much more invested and sound much more humane, emotional, not really lose control over my emotion, but I sound much more invested and less predictable than my monotone kind of speaking. Yeah, I do feels more I do feel more alive when I try to speak in a more interesting tone, but that does consume more of my energy and it is indeed more emotionally exhausting. Maybe that's a thing for talking, for having a that's the thing. We gotta invest energy and emotional. Uh, we gotta invest our mental energy into our talk for and with appropriate technique for it to be compelling, persuasive. Wait, persuasive. Does persuasive really need to be emotional? The tone should mainly focus on being right, like being persuasive. And persuasive doesn't really mean as emotional. Nah, wait. Yeah, I gotta still sounds emotional for that to be a catching style of talking. God damn. Yeah, so my assumption is wrong. I don't think there's any way for us to, to not invested in our talk and to not being emotional invested and still be able to catch the attentions of the audience with normal contents in our speech. Whatever. Yeah, so I'm gonna try to be emotional and invested in my talk and talk. Furthermore, I'm gonna implement that into my daily life. My daily life to see the difference. To see the difference in results. To see the difference. Ew. Yeah, that's probably it for this video.